Good afternoon, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. This is Rich again, back for your second video blog of the day for Thursday, October 29th, 2015, around 5:11 in the afternoon, Berwick, Massachusetts. It turned out to be a sunny day in the 70s, a little bit breezy and stuff. Windy. The leaves are falling like wildfire now because of all the wind, and 2 more days into daylight savings times end, so get out and to enjoy this last few minutes of sunlight for today, tomorrow, and Saturday, because Sunday be dark at 4:30. Don't like it. Some news to report. The Miami Marlins have named Don Mattingly the new manager, so congratulations to him. And the San Diego Padres named Andy Green, who was third base coach of the Arizona Diamondbacks, as a new manager. So congratulations to him. And that's about it on the news. My second video blog subject of the day is about the 14 straight division titles that the Atlanta Braves have won between 1991 and 2005. 14 straight years winning a division is a record in all of professional sports in North America, plus 14 straight years making the playoffs. That's the longest streak in Major League Baseball history that might never be broken. The Braves won several National League pennants, and they won 1 World Series. They had a deep core of players, which included Hall of Famers Tom Glavine, Greg Maddux, John Smoltz, who were all 3 ace pitchers, and manager Bobby Cox was also a Hall of Famer. And they had other players that could be Hall of Famers and stuff. This one's definitely going to be a Hall of Famer in 2018, Chipper Jones. And a little bit of story of the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves are a chartered member of the National League. They started in 1876 in Boston as the Boston Braves. They played in Boston from 1876 to 1953. They won the 1914 World Series. They also made a World Series in 1948, losing to the Cleveland Indians. They were famous for Spawn and Sane and Pray for Rain. Spawn and Sane were Warren Spahn and Johnny Sane, 2 of the ace pitchers of the Braves in the 1940s, who were pretty good, and they pitched and they would always win, and they hoped that it rained for 2 days so they could come back and pitch again to win again, because they only had 4-man rotations back in the 40s and stuff like that. Usually the Braves were one of the worst teams in the National League. By the 1950s, Boston could not support 2 Major League Baseball teams. Red Sox were real popular. So in 1953, the Atlanta Braves moved to the Midwest part of the United States into County Stadium in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And they made home in the largest city in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, for 13 seasons. They were rechristened the Milwaukee Braves, and they had winning seasons every single year in Milwaukee. They won 2 National League pennants. 1957, they won the World Series, and they had stars like Eddie Matthews, third baseman, outfielder Hank Aaron, and Warren Spahn continued to pitch for them. But they were not drawing the crowds in Milwaukee by the early to mid-60s, and they relocated again in 1966 to the capital of Georgia, Atlanta, and they played their games at Atlanta Stadium. And for the first 25 years the Braves were in Atlanta, they had limited success. They won the National League West Division title in 1969 and 1982, but they were swept both times in the League Championship Series. Most of the times the Braves were very mediocre. Sometimes they were the worst team in the National League, and they didn't have too many stars. Hank Aaron hit his 714th home run in 1974. That could have been one of the highlights of the Braves during that time period. They had few stars like Darrell Evans, third baseman, Davy Johnson, second baseman, and their best pitcher Phil Niekro and stuff. And a lot of fans were not coming to the games to see the Braves at Atlanta Stadium. By the mid-70s, the team was put up for sale, and it was talk they were going to be relocated again, probably to Toronto. But Ted Turner, who was a yachtsman, and also a media mogul, bought the Braves, kept them in Atlanta. He owned a television station, WTBS, in Atlanta, that carried Braves games, and that television station was launched as a superstation to go all across the country. So the Braves have a long time following and stuff. In the Braves continued their losing ways in the 70s and 80s, still having very few stars, including Gene Garber, who was the relief pitcher, Bob Horner, first baseman, and Dale Murphy, who was one of the best players in the National League in the 1980s. But the Braves continued to lose and stuff. Joe Torre managed them for a while. In the early 80s, they had one great year in 1982 when they had a 13-game winning streak to start the season. They won the National League, Western Division title, but they got swept in the League Championship Series by the Cardinals. Only highlight of that time period, along with Dale Murphy winning back-to-back National League Most Valuable Players. By the mid to late 80s, the Braves continued to stink. They would finish always in last place in the National League West. Fans were not coming to the games and stuff. They sometimes drew under 1 million each year, and a lot of people were saying the Braves should have been moved away against. But with all these last place finishes, the Braves were picking up some great picks, and they developed in late 1980s some great pitchers, including Tommy Glavine, John Smoltz, and Steve Avery. In 1990, Bobby Cox became manager of the Braves, who was originally the manager of the Braves when he stunk in the late 70s, early 80s. Then he went to Toronto, had some success there, became general manager of the Braves in the 1986 and 1990. He became manager again, and he managed the Braves for 20 years for the success period. The success of the Braves started in 1991 when Tommy Glavine won that National League Cy Young Award. And also they had great seasons from Steve Avery, who won 18 games, John Smoltz, and a couple of other pitchers. Plus they had great offense, including outfielders Ron Gant and David Justice, and third baseman Terry Pendleton, who won the National League Most Valuable Player in 1991. Braves went worst to first, winning the division pretty easily, beating the Pirates in 7 games in the National League Championship Series, then playing the Twins in the classic 7-game World Series in 1991, which they could have won, but the Twins won that great game in Game 7, 10th inning, when Jack Morris pitched an absolute great game. So the Braves didn't win the World Series that year. 1992, they won the National League West again. They beat the Pirates again in 7 games in the National League Championship Series. That 7th game's very memorable because a pinch hitter, Francisco Quibell, who's a career minor leaguer, hits like a ball and gets a hit, and running around the bases was Sid Bream, and Sid Bream scored. And the Braves went on to face the Blue Jays in World Series, but they lost in 6 games to the Blue Jays, and they had home field advantage. And the Braves continued to get some great players, including Deion Sanders and stuff. And in 1993, they acquired Fred McGriff from the San Diego Padres mid-season. Plus, they added a ace starting pitcher, Greg Maddux. 1993 was probably the best season the Braves had because they won 104 games, and they held off the San Francisco Giants, who had 103 games. This was the last great race for the division title because the next year they went to 3 divisions and stuff, and the Braves were heavily favored in the League Championship Series against the Philadelphia Phillies, but the Phillies were kind of a throwback team of years past, like if they had John Kruk, Dallin Dalton, Lenny Dykstra, Kurt Schilling, pitcher, the closer was Mitch Williams, and others. And they shocked the Braves by beating them in 6 games for the League Championship Series. Braves didn't make it back to the World Series as a disappointment. 1994, they lose Ron Gant to an injury, and they moved to the National League East. They finished with the second best record in the National League East, behind the Montreal Expos, but that was the year the season was called off on August 12th because of the strike, so that does not count for like standings. They're unofficial for like the division standing and stuff. 1995, the strike shortened season, and the Braves won the National League East pretty easily, beating the Rockies 3-1 in the League Division Series, sweeping the Cincinnati Reds. For the League Championship Series, they face off against the Indians for Game 6 for a classic 6-game series. A home run by Marquise Grissom secures the first World Series win for the Braves in Atlanta since they moved there. Tommy Glavine won Most Valuable Player of the World Series. Tom Glavine's from my hometown of Billerica, Massachusetts. Braves won another division title pretty easily in 1996 in the National League East, sweeping the Dodgers in the Division Series, coming back 3-1 from the Cardinals in the League Championship Series, and in the World Series they face off against the New York Yankees. The Braves are up 2-0, beating the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. They were on the verge of making a commanding 3-0 lead in Game 3, but they blew it and stuff. But that World Series had Andrew Jones make his debut, and he had a couple of home runs, which were pretty good. He became the next great player for the Braves. And also the Braves lost 4 straight, and they did not repeat as World Series champions. Around this time, they added some more players, including Ryan Kletzko, and Chipper Jones, who was the #1 draft pick in 1990, and he made his debut in 1995. He became a career Braves. 1997, another good year for the Braves. They repeat as National League East Division title champions, sweep the Astros in the League Division Series, lose the League Championship Series to the Florida Marlins, which was the owner at the time, Wayne Huizenga, just bought the team, bought all of the good players for one season, and he was going to sell them. So the Braves didn't win the World Series that year. They didn't get to the World Series. 1998, Braves said goodbye to Fred McGriff, but Andres Garlaga steps in. They have a great pitching performance by Tom Glavine, won second Cy Young Award. They won another National League East Division title, sweep the Cubs in the Division Series, but lose to the Padres in the League Championship Series. But the Braves continue to have great players, and they're perennial division winners and go deep into the playoffs. 1999 is no exception. They won the National League East again. They beat the Astros in 4 games in the Division Series. They faced the New York Mets, their division rivals, in a 6-game series. That's classic and stuff. A lot of experts. They went up 3-0 on the Mets, but they lost Game 4 and 5. And a lot of people saying the Mets had the momentum to become the first team in Major League Baseball history to come back from 0-3 to win a playoff series, but they never did because Braves beat them in 6 games. And the Braves get swept by the Yankees in the World Series in 1999, which were 4-0. And Game 2 of the 1999 World Series is infamous for the Pete Rose, Jim Gray interview when they were announcing the All-Century team at Turner Field and stuff. Jim Gray grilled Pete Rose about alleged gambling and stuff like that. But 1999 was a great year for the Braves as well, as Chipper Jones won Most Valuable Player of the National League and stuff. Then the 2000s come, the Braves are aging and stuff. Tom Glavine's getting older, Greg Maddux is getting older, John Smoltz is getting a little older and stuff. He was injured. He had to convert from a from a starting pitcher to a relief pitcher, which became pretty good. Braves continue to win their divisions each year for the first 6 years of 2000, they won the National League East title, but they get swept by the Cardinals in the division series and stuff. 2001, another National League East division titles. They held off the Phillies. They beat the Astros in the division series, but they lose to the league championship series to the Diamondbacks and stuff. And a lot of experts saying that the Braves' time as like National League powerhouses are coming to an end because of like the aging pitching staff and stuff. They still had Chipper Jones, but he didn't have too much of a supporting cast with him. They had Gary Sheffield to the mix for a couple of years. It was pretty good and stuff. 2002, Braves win another division title, but they lost a 5-game division series to the San Francisco Giants, who was a wild card team. And 2003, another division championship for the Braves, but they lose to the Cubs in the division series and stuff. Also, this is a time when Tom Glavine leaves via free agency to the Mets, and 2003 is the last year. Greg Maddux is a Braves player. He goes back to the Cubs, and it's just John Smoltz as a ace pitcher, but they add in 2004, they win another division title, but they lose in 4 games to the Astros and stuff. Chipper Jones is continuing to have quality seasons and stuff, building a resume. He was an outfielder, first baseman, third baseman and stuff, and Chipper Jones was like a consistent player. 2005, the Braves acquired Tim Hudson from the A's, and he becomes the ace pitcher. They win another division title, despite having all rookie pitchers besides Tim Hudson in the rotation there. Their like lineup was pretty like average and stuff, but Bobby Cox continued to manage them pretty good. He won Manager of the Year 2004-2005. And in 2005, the Braves lost the division series again to the Houston Astros and stuff, and that was it for them. 14 straight division championships in 2006. They finished under 500, and the run was over and stuff. And this was an unbelievable run for the Atlanta Braves. 14 straight division titles. You'll never see that in any professional sport again because of so much because of parity, salary caps and stuff. You know, players change teams every single year. Baseball does not have a salary cap and stuff. And the Braves had so much of the greatest talent, with especially the pitching, with Tom Glavine, Greg Maddux, and John Smoltz are Hall of Famers, and Bobby Cox is a Hall of Fame manager. And they're like position players. They were quality players. Ron Gant, Terry Pendleton, David Justice, Sid Bream, Javier Lopez, Jeff Berlauser, Mark Lemke, Fred McGriff, Ryan Kletzko. All good players, but not Hall of Famers. The only positional player who's going into the Hall of Fame will play for the Braves during this time period is going to be Chipper Jones. He's eligible in 2018. He is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, right, my friends. The Braves only won 1 World Series championship during this time period. They were the team of the 90s, in my humble opinion, but they only won 1 World Series championship. They could have won a couple of others. 1991, it was like that thing with home field advantage and stuff. If they had home field advantage, they would have won that World Series. 1992. I'm debating. It's debatable. I thought it was the Blue Jays year. 1995 was definitely the year. 1996, they should have went back to back, going up 2-0 to the Yankees, winning the first 2 at Yankee Stadium and having them on the ropes for Game 3. They could have won back to back, but the Yankees buzzsaws them through. And in 1999, there was no chance of them winning against the Yankees because the Yankees were in the middle of their dynasty and stuff. So there was no stopping the Yankees during that time period and stuff. And the Braves have been nicknamed the Bravos and stuff, and America's team, because for years, they had a following on WTBS, which was beamed throughout the country and stuff. And calling the games for many years for the Braves were Ernie Johnson Sr., who is the father of Ernie Johnson Jr., and Skip Carey, and Pete Van Willen, and like Joe Simpson and Don Sutton. So this was an amazing team, the Atlanta Braves. Be back with the third and final video blog of the night, which will be about two things that happened in weather on this day. First thing, 4 years ago, a freak, an early season snowstorm, and the next year, 3 years ago, today, Superstorm Hurricane Sandy. Like I always say, keep calm, everybody. I'm a Julie Button guy. Julie Button rocks and has nice legs. Amy Swensley of Leash 2, so stunning. Elizabeth Hart, so stunning. Molly Rosenblatt rocks. And in the words of WWE Hall of Famer Shawn Michaels, the showstopper, the icon, the main eventer. See you later, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.